All right. We give thanks for this moment in time coming together for this full moon phase, seeking our divine assignments for this full moon stage. We give thanks for the seasons and cycles of this life, how we're constantly growing and expanding. We give thanks for being in awareness enough to be able to tune in to what the divine assignments are for this full moon period. Because we know that as above, so below, that we are blessed with the consciousness enough to get the guidance that the skies is giving us, and that which you provide on earth is giving us as well. May we continue to be able to stay in tune, be able to be aware, be able to hear and see as those of divine seers and hearers, which are the children of God. We give thanks in advance for the divine assignments for this full moon period. May it be fruitful for our life. May we know that it is so, and may we claim that it's already done. Ashe. Amen. I mean. All right. So, plain and simple. Well, I won't say plain and simple. We're gonna see how involved this session is gonna be this evening, because I have been inspired to take the theme of this full moon and really look at every area of our lives. So we are being called to detox, release, and renew. Detox, release, and renew. Aren't we called to do that on every full moon? Absolutely. Absolutely. But right now, because of this eclipse energy that's still present, we have the Mercury retrograde that's still present. We have this full moon being in Libra, the ultimate balancer. We are being called to really do a serious level detox, release, and renew, so that we can continue to ensure that we're prepared to live out our new state of being and not continue to drop into the old. Okay, that truly is the constant call of the hour with everything that's going on, excuse me, astrologically, with this age, with, what we've been experiencing over the last several years with the whole dismantling of the old, out with the old, in with the new vibe. Like, we really are being called in so many ways to resist falling into old patterns. That was an old pattern that I fell into this morning. Resist to falling into old patterns, and make sure that you're being obedient in how you're approaching your life from a renewed mindset, a purified and restored heart and soul, and a mind of clarity. And that clarity is, I am a spiritual being, a child of God, having a spiritual experience. I no longer depend on my intellectual mind to show me the way. I no longer force and fix and fight to get through life. I'm no longer functioning in survival mode, where I'm just doing enough to get by, where I'm just waddling in my comfort zone so that I don't ruffle any feathers. I'm no longer working in that manner. How I am functioning is, I am functioning in tune with spirit. I'm doing the work so that I can stay in tune, so that I'm able to hear and see and feel and know the way. I'm obeying spirit, following the way, knowing that this plan and purpose that I'm walking out is not mine. And I'm doing what I need to do to stay encouraged, stay courageous, stay very brazenly bold, stay at peace, stay in the middle, stay on my eagle's perch. I'm doing what I need to do. That is my life. That is where my focus is. That is where my energy is. There's nothing that gets in the way of me upholding those things. That's the life that we're being called to live. And that life may at first be difficult to really get accustomed to. However, there is nothing more fruitful than that type of life. Anybody can relate? There's nothing more fruitful. And after a while, if you keep exercising your muscle, it won't just be these roller coaster rides of these high peaks of experiencing the reward of that type of life and these lows of when you constantly keep slipping back into the old. Keep practicing the muscle, the new muscles, by not continuing to go back to old patterns. So I want to first remind you of what new means. Let's look at first what new means. Okay, because we're not talking about something new under the sun, something just found out, something that something that we're just learning, we're just figuring it out. No, that's not what new means. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen. For some reason I feel like you can't, but maybe you can. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, Kim. New. New birth. This is the new we're talking about. This is the birthing, the renewal, the dying and the rebirthing that's happening that Pam Gregory keeps talking about and all her crew. New birth, the realization by man of his spiritual identity with the fullness, okay, because with the fullness of power and glory that follows. Notice what that word said. The power and the glory follows what? Your realization of your spiritual identity. The power and the glory can only come if you have stepped into your identity. Look what identity means. The fact of being who or what a person or thing is. That's what identity means. Let's look at identity, the etymology. Identity, sameness, oneness, state of being the same. That's identity. So the new birth is the realization by man of his spiritual identity. You are one with spirit. One and the same. You're just in human form. You are a spiritual being. I think we hear ourselves say that, we say that, but what does it mean to be something? You are a spiritual being. Everything about you is spiritual. Even when you're on your down times and hard times and hard head times and all them, you still a spiritual being. And there are some things that come with being a spiritual being. Okay? Notice this, spiritual cosmology, which is spiritual interpretation of the creation of the universe. When science admits that the ether is moved by omnipotent mind, the Bible will show forth a complete spiritual cosmogony. Spiritual discernment, intuitive knowing of that which is true of God or spirit. Spiritual healer, one who helps man reform so that bodily healing follows as a natural consequence of a reformation. In order to have bodily perfection, it is necessary to bring the mind to a state of righteousness. This is the work of the spiritual healer. Spiritual quickening, making active according to spiritual standards by being linked to the activity of God mind. And spirituality is the consciousness that relates man directly to his Father God. It is quickened and grows through prayer and other forms of religious thought and worship. So the call of the hour is constantly to detox, release, renew the mind so that you can really accept your spiritual identity. So what it means in this physical world is it doesn't matter what's happening with these two eyes, doesn't matter what I'm seeing, doesn't matter what I'm hearing. I understand that I am a spiritual being. I am one with spirit. I am one with God's mind. I am one with God. And I understand my assignment. And so some of the assignments, of course, as a spiritual being is you gotta get into your powerful prayers. Long gone are those little, nah, them little prayers. You know how people be like, how your little business going? How your little prayers going? We gotta move away from that. You offended about somebody calling you your little business. How your little business? How your little art that you be doing? How that's going? How your little hobby going? You know how that feel? Well, how them little prayers going? Nah, big mama, you need to get into the prayers. Okay? Calling down power and dominion. Speaking words of affirmation of what God is. And because God, this is what I am. That's a part of your job. The other thing is the thoughts. It's a part of your job to renew your mind. So retell the stories. Go through all of them, retell them. Renew the mind. What narrative do you continue to tell that you need to detox, release, and renew? Also, the worship. Let me go back to that, here where it says prayers, other forms of worship, thought, and worship. Worship. When one worships, he bestows his love on or identifies himself with the things of spirit. Worship represents the efforts of man to sustain a right mental attitude towards God. Prayer, praise, and worship. This is different from prayer, praise, and worship of the church, which was oftentimes all up in ego. Let me praise God for all the things he's done. Are you serious? Let me praise God because God is. And because of the amazing reality of that, the beautiful reality of that, give thanks. I give thanks for the air. I give thanks for the sun, the moon, the grass, the nature. I give thanks for the mercy and the grace. I give thanks for the love and the tribe and the acquaintances and the friends and the family. I give thanks for the intellect. I give thanks for the intuition. Give thanks for my dreams. I give thanks for the fresh foods that come from the land. I give thanks that because of God, there's anything we could think of, it grows from the land. I give thanks. That's different from the praise that's ego filled. Because the praise that's ego filled could dwindle when something ain't going your way or the way your mind can conceive. But when you get that right mental attitude, when you get that understanding, that knowing of God, the wisdom of God, you know that anything you imagine, if it didn't go your way, then okay, God is having his way. It wasn't that will, and you were able to let it go. So this full moon, the detox, the release, the renewal is the call, looking at every area of your life. So what I wanted to do tonight is I wanted to use our app. I wanted to use the Time Passages app to assist us. And we're going to do a few, and then the rest is going to be our homework. Okay, so I'm going to hop on a call with my phone so that we can have it on our screen, but feel free, if you're in a position, open up your Time Passages app and join me with the assignment that we're doing.
Recording in progress.
Okay. So what we're going to do is tonight, this is going to be a way that we can see how we can use our tool. Give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen. Remember, all right, give thanks. The theme is detox, release, renew. Now, the difference between those three is detoxing, meaning, oh, I got my thing on. I wanted to do that anyway. Like move that for a second. Detox, take note. Detox is loosening something up so that it can be released. It's oftentimes I tell people, hey, before you go get your colonics, do a parasite cleanse or detox so that they are loose before you go get your colonic. I know that might be a TMI example, but hey, it's in alignment because this is not just addressing our spiritual body or emotional body, but even your physical bodies. You should definitely be doing your heavy metal cleanses. You should definitely be doing your colonics. You should definitely be doing your blood cleansing, during this time right now. Spring is that time anyway, but let alone this Libra full moon while it's still in its eclipse energy, right? Still in this retrograde energy. So definitely for the physical body, you should be, again, getting your colonics. Before you get the colonics, do your parasite cleanse. Take your parasite supplements so that they can be loosed, broken up, so that they can be released out. Blood cleansing. One I know for sure, neem as well as cerasee. Cerasee is like a Caribbean, it grows like a weed there, but it's a Caribbean herb. Cerasee is really good for the blood. Charcoal is really good. Like I said, neem is really good. You got your colonics. If you don't want to get the colonics, which I encourage you to get used to getting them, just do a good colon cleanse. Also detox and deliver, dandelion, things like that, incorporating dandelion right now. And cell regeneration is good too. You can find various teas where you can do your cell regeneration as well. And so that's for the physical. But keeping that in mind, detoxing is for the breaking up so that then it can be released. And one of the things that people neglect to do after they do a detox and a release, they forget to renew or restore. All right, renew or restore. And that is put the minerals back, put what's in there that your body thrives off of. In the spiritual realm, detoxing is figuring out that which need to be broken up, release them for nullification. Detox, reflect, break those things up, find those things, get in there and clean them out. Release, spiritual realm, renunciate, and then renew, that is affirm. So you're restoring yourself back to the truth about the matter, the truth about your existence, the truth about your being in that area. And so I want to show y'all how we can use our charts to assist us with this work. So take the battery thing off. That's why they did that. And let's share my screen again. All right. So now, looking at your sun, if you go to let me show you how I got to this, just in case you don't know. When you open your app, you're going to be at the current stage. You see your name at the bottom. You also see charts at the bottom. Then you'll see learn. This is my current. Mine is Gibbous moon in Virgo as well. So you'll see current, your name at the bottom, charts, and learn. Go to learn. Then you can go through each planet. So the sun. Ask yourself, when it comes to my sun energy, the sun represents the self, one's way of being in this world. It can represent on different levels, both the ego and the higher self or soul purpose. The sun is the most important planet. The symbol for the sun comes from ancient times. The sun energizes your entire chart and planets in close relation to the sun. All right. So we see what sun is all about. Now, when it comes to sun, when it comes to my way of being in this world, what needs to be detoxed, released, and renewed? When it comes to the way of being in this world, am I still hell-bent on knowing everything that this world got going on? My news watchers, that need to change. That's not what spiritual beings do. Spiritual beings do not clog up their cache with everything that's going on in this world. My way of being. Is my way of being to figure, fix, and force things? And how you can really get some support is you go back, you go to your chart. I'm going to go to my chart. You go to your sun, you can go to planets, my sun in Cancer, and see if there's anything that you can read here that identifies ways that needs to be detoxed, released, or renewed, or essentially elevated. Here you see it says you are likely to be security conscious and highly value your home life. You may appear passive, tend to rely on your feelings to make decisions. You're subtle rather than direct. Rather than allowing yourself to be driven by your changing moods, you benefit from shedding the light of conscious reason on your habitual patterns and focusing on your true goals. So a part of my ways of life, the way of being, is articulated in my sun planet. As I'm reading it, I can ask myself, is there any ways I need to detox, release, and renew when it comes to my way of being, when it comes to how my sun is, how I could tend to show up in my sun planet? Because remember, these could be tendencies, not necessarily concrete. These things can be evolved, they can be transformed, they can be elevated. And so as you see, mood came up, feelings came up here. So maybe I will focus on that. All right, when it comes to me and my feelings and my moods, is there anything I need to detox? Is there any, is there anything in relation to my feelings, moods? Is there anything I need to release? Any ideas, any thoughts I need to release? And is there anything I need to renew? Is there anything I need to affirm when it comes to my feelings or my moods or how I'm holding on to life? When it comes to my feelings, am I being pushed around by this world, by the things that I'm seeing? Do I need to do some work on that, some detox, release, and renew work on that? So this is just an example I'm just giving, just coming from my chart. You don't even have to use this portion. I'm just saying if you feel compelled, you can go into your chart to assist you with the assignment. But the assignment is to go into each one of these planets. Be reminded what these planets represent, the aspect of your life or the part of your life. And ask yourself, is there some detox and releasing and renewing or restoring that needs to happen in this aspect of me? And in this case, the sun is it's my way of being in this world. Being reminded, being is how you be. Your way of being is how you be, how you function, how you operate, how you judge, how you decide, make your decisions, how you let go. My way of being, how I love, how I grieve, how I understand my way of being. You know how we go. You know, I'm the type that's what we tend to say. I'm the type that do this or want that. Is there anything about your being that needs to be detoxed, released, or renewed? Give me a thumbs up if we following the gist of the assignment. Let's go into the moon. What does the moon represent? Your personal self, the feelings, the unconscious. It is a reflection of the true self represented by the sun. It stands for security and instinctual or habitual patterns, as well as the ability to relate to others and to be nurturing to others. So when it comes to the moon, Kim says she's got it. Okay. When it comes to my moon energy, when it comes to, my subconscious mind, is there anything that need to be detoxed, released, renewed? The way that in the innermost parts of me, are there any things that I need to release? And I would tell you for sure, you know, be careful with trying to dig up everything and let me see, is there anything in my subconscious mind? Now, I think that's a good activity to do. Is there anything in my subconscious mind impacting this, especially in the areas of your life where you're not seeing any forward movement, or especially in the areas of your life where you're having a very hard time coming to a balance or harmony or healing? You definitely want to sit and go, is there anything that's going on subconsciously underneath the conscious mind? Any thoughts, any projections, any ways that maybe I was raised when I was younger, any ideas that maybe was projected on me when I was little, anything showing in the dreams, anything I'm noticing that I'm doing, but I'm not even conscious of doing that, but I see that I keep doing that I need to detox and renew. One of the things from this Venus retrograde recently, for me, was I was um, unconsciously seeking validation I was unconsciously seeking validation in a certain area of my life. I'll just leave it like that because I'll have to go too deep to explain. But I didn't realize that I was seeking validation. I didn't realize that I was allowing certain behaviors as that I shouldn't have potentially been allowing, because those behaviors made me feel secure or made me feel like validated. But I shouldn't have been allowing those behaviors. Well, let me give some context because it might be helpful. So I have been really thinking about the way I function in the romantic relationships in my life. Just looking at the significant ones I've had and noticing certain things, certain patterns, and just thinking about a lot when it comes to that. I've been really just breaking it down, looking at it, really looking close. And one of the things I identify is that oftentimes when I am pursued, some could call what I experience love bombing. I have attracted a love bomb type energy. Pour it on. Borderline obsession. Some of them obsessed, it's like just pour it all the way on, like, bomb it. Love you, love it. Adoration, love, 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 want, desire, desire, desire. That kind of thing. Early off, early on. And so, I think in my current state of mind and in my current heart state and the things that I'm being challenged with, that's preparing my way for my life partner, a lot of stuff has just been shown to me. And it's like, okay, in order to experience new, you got to look at what are the old patterns, what are the old ways, and then realize what is it that you've liked about it. If you're kind of seeing that that's possibly not the best way, like how did that end up? Clearly it didn't end up for the long run. So you have to see, well, what how did how what did you like about it? Why did you allow it into your experience, or why are you now looking for that as a indication of interest or connection, you know? And I was meditating on the idea of don't confuse intensity with intimacy. It's like these are things. I'm just sharing this because these are subconscious things. I wasn't consciously thinking about that. These are subconscious things. These are things that's rolling in my head. Maybe it could be coming from, I started reflect, like maybe, cartoons made me think about it. My favorite cartoons was Aladdin and Snow White and all these different type of things. Maybe it was fairy tales that made me really like love bombing, like what's the one with where she turned into a pumpkin at midnight? What is it Cinderella? Is that Cinderella? Um Cinderella. Yes, that's Cinderella. Snow White is where she sleep in the forest and the gorgeous prince comes and he gives her a kiss and wake her up and now gives her the world and now she's a princess and all these kind of stuff. Do the cartoons program this? Is that what's programming this idea that this is what shows you that you are valuable, you are loved, and if you don't see that, then you feel insecure, you feel whatever, like you. So I'm giving an example of something that could be from that inner parts of you that needs to be thought of, detoxed, released, and renewed. So I'm just giving it as an example. Hope it's helping. I pray that it's helping. All right, reminding what Mercury is. Mercury is, of course, about communication, but going into the Mercury, just being reminded of what Mercury is all about. Asking yourself, is there anything in association with Mercury that I need to really rethink? Mercury represents the mind and intellect and rules Gemini. It has its exaltation in Aquarius. Mercury is an airy planet associated with all forms of communication and the inflow and outflow of intelligence and communication. Its position indicates how your mental function will be expressed and where techniques and skills are available to you. So, is there any ways, how when it comes to your communication, how do you communicate? Do you find yourself being controlling? Do you find yourself projecting? Do you find yourself projecting a lot? You perceive, and then now you take it and you're projecting onto the world. Do you find yourself communicating in a negative way? Some of us don't even realize we communicate in a negating way. Do you need a detox in your form of communication? Some of us are passive aggressive. Some of us live in our heads. That's Mercury too. Your form of communication is in the mind. So you're communicating silently. You don't even realize that you're putting stuff out there. You're projecting, you're communicating to the universe what you want in your head. And oftentimes it's not even really what you want. You're in your head about what could happen, what if, what is. Do you need to detox that? Do I need to detox my mind? How I think, how I perceive, how I remember. Some of us remember all of the bad, don't remember nothing of the good. A detox, release, and renewal is necessary. So I'm just saying this, you don't have to use this tool. You can just kind of look at, I just think this tool helps us to look at every area of our lives because the planets is going to address all the areas of our lives. And if you don't use time passages, maybe you can use the 12 apostles or the 12 disciples. These are all the faculties. When it comes to your faith, is there detox, release, renewal, your strength, your power, your love, your discrimination, judgment, all, your will, your zeal. Maybe you want to use the 12 disciples instead of the planets. Maybe you want to use the chakras instead of the 12 disciples or the planet. However it feels resonant to you. Of course, we tend to go astrological here. So first thing I thought, let's use this tool that we have, time passages, to go into it and get some context. Okay, my Mercury energy, my Saturn energy, my Neptune energy, my Chiron energy, because it's talking about parts of us. But that's not the only tool we have, giving thanks to the Almighty. We have the metaphysical meaning of the apostles or the disciples. We can use that. We've gone through a whole chakra study, so we understand the chakra, so we can use the chakra. Okay, root. Is there any detox, release, renew I need to do? Root, sacral, solar, heart, throat, first eye, crown. All right, you can do it that way. Yeah. For my science heads, my science geeks, I would say you can use the nervous system. You can go through the nervous system, go through the brain. There are parts of the brain that represent certain things. You go through that. You can use that. However we do it, it is a prime time for us to really get to know thyself. This is a true activity of knowledge of self. Sitting and taking these parts of ourselves and really detoxing, another word for detox, reflecting, really releasing, another word for releasing, renunciating, and really renewing, another word for that is affirming. In every area. Now we can say, okay, health, wealth, love. What's the other one? Health, wealth, love. Health, wealth, love. Is that like the three main, and relationship with God, those four? Or we can go deeper. We can go deeper. What about with my attitude? Those are parts of ourselves. When you talk about the brain, my memory, attitude, perception, concentration, all of these different things, parts of the brain. Glands in the brain. Is there any detox, release, renew that need to happen? I feel like this could be a very fruitful assignment for the rest of this full moon period, and I pray that you are able to receive this divine assignment. Is the assignment clear? Erica says, very helpful. Thanks for the reminder. You're welcome. Give me a thumbs up if the assignment for this full moon period is clear. We have, of course, 3 days before the full moon. All right, give thanks. Okay. The full moon assignment is clear. Keisha says, the full moon is on the 13th. So the full moon period is 3 days before. Okay, starting on the 10th, if you will, and 3 days afterwards. Okay. And so, we can go ahead and kind of begin now. Why not? The meditation we're going to be doing is on the 13th. And of course, if you're in Atlanta, the sound bath is scheduled for Saturday, that 12th. So you can come in for that sound bath. Aside from that, our divine assignments right now, stay on your eagle's perch, stay living from your heart space, stay in integrity. Please write that word down, integrity. It is a must. Stay in integrity, okay? Me going out to that place this morning, that spirit just totally just rerouted me, was not me functioning in integrity. Period. Integrity is really functioning in your true self, from your truth, from your own truth, from your real truth of you. Not the truth that you bend and, well, integrity. I had a conversation with a family member today. The conversation went something like this. Hey, I was just calling you that this person has been calling me kind of not back to back, but more than usual for the last several days. I already had the energy that they was calling because they wanted to ask me for something. It's not the first time. And, kind of, Erica, I think maybe I was in a situation as you. It's like, Spirit's been told me you're going to have to let this person live out their life and face their challenges in a way where they're dependent on God and not on you, and you can't be their crutch, and you may have it, and you may if I'm saying no, don't do it. That's what spirit was telling me. I ain't gonna lie to you. And I felt it before I even knew what they calling me for. But they had called me. They call me whenever they call me. It's for something. And so they called, and they projected a little energy towards me that I wasn't answering. So finally, when I had a minute today, I called them back. And sure enough, they said, hey, how you doing? The for the routine of it all. But then they went into their spiel on what's going on, and they went on, and I don't know, and they went on and on and on and on. After I've told this person many times before, not many times, but a few times before, I'm not a dumping ground. If you're calling me, you must be calling me for spiritual or higher minded advice. That has to be what you're calling me for, because I'm not a dumping zone. So, as they're telling me everything, I'm still feeling like they're not calling me just to get advice. And so I went ahead and, analyzed what they were telling me, told them what I think, with what they're telling me. I think this may be the lesson that God is trying to show you. This, what I do. This is what I do. I can hear you out, listen to you, and I hear the divine assignment. So this is what I think the divine assignment is. These are the things I think you need to do. This and that. So they, well, yeah, I'm doing that and this, and yeah, and I hear you, because and I hear you, and I'm doing that, and blah blah blah, and then back to the story, back to the story. And so finally I said, I know it's the end of retrograde. It's just, that's the way it is. Finally, I said to a certain extent, I said, well, then finally after 30, 45 minutes, they're like, well, what, how you doing? What you got going on? I said, well, just like you, life is happening. I had a blowout this morning. I had to deal with that. And then I had this and that and blah, 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 blah. And I said, but he said, and then they said something to the effect of, well, I just be calling to check in and this and that. I said, well, to be honest, integrity. I said, to be honest, when you call, it doesn't feel like you're checking on me. It feels like that you're calling to tell me what you have going on. And I'm your family, so it feels like clearly you're calling for me to be able to give you something or do something, because if I'm your family sitting here listening to your challenges, then surely you're telling me not just to vent. If I'm a family member and I can help, you're telling me to help you in whatever way you feel like I can. And I said, and every single time, that's what it is. There's not a time where I feel like you just calling to check on me as you're saying that. And they had to agree, like, oh, you're right, you're right. And I don't want you to feel like that. Da, 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 da. I said, I didn't say that for you to, feel a way about it. I'm just showing you something. I'm just showing you something. And I said to them, well, they said, well, I know everybody got stuff going on, and everybody. I said, no. I said, I don't have stuff going on. I'm living out the will of God. There's a calling over my life that I'm living out. So it's not that I'm busy. It's not that I got stuff going on. It's not none of that. It's that I'm living out a calling. And so unless me helping you is a part of my calling, I can't be there for it. I can't be there for it, because then I would just be there out of self-righteousness, out of just me. Well, I got it. They got to be a part of my journey. That's how very sensitive and subtle this life is. Because if I give to you and it's not in divine order, it not only creates a karmic debt for you, but it creates a karmic debt for me, because I'm doing something that's out of order. Whether that's at some point I'm gonna need that, or I get taken advantage of over here, or some kind of way. Energy doesn't stop, so it's gonna come back around. And I'm gonna get the results of that self-righteousness. So it's not just about, nothing is about me. This life is not about me. This vision, none of that is about me, And so I believe they receiving, and then they went on, well, it's just, I, and because I was telling them, I said, listen, don't get upset when I don't answer your phone call because, that's just is what it is. I'll call you back when I have a chance. Well, they told this whole long story about how they really committed to not going too long before they call somebody because they had this friend that, they went a long time at some point. And at some point when they finally called, that friend had that friend had passed away unexpectedly. And so now I said, I can't attach to that. You're attached to that. I'm not attached to that like that. You know, I, I hear what you're saying, but we think differently in that sense. We think differently when it comes to loyalty. We think differently when it comes to, I'm not even attaching none of all of that, you know? So, it is what it is, and I can't really be a slave to uh your convictions. I can't be a slave to your convictions. So it's just I'm sharing this story, being transparent and sharing, personal parts of myself just to just show how, what integrity really looks like. And integrity to some could look like narcissism. Integrity to some could look like selfishness. Integrity to some could look like harshness, but it's realness. It's walking in truth. Because your spirit, what you should be doing, how you should be functioning, and it's in your spirit. Your spirit would tell you if you're supposed to help your child out in certain ways. My spirit done told me to tell my child no. I told that family member that too. I said, my son don't even call me. My son know that my position is when God put you in the positions, God trying to show you who your source of supply is, what your source of supply is. Because surely I've been put in a position and I had to run it down. I said I've done been evicted. I done got a repo. I done lost a business before. I done lost a home before. I done got foreclosed on and lost a home before. I done been out here single mom trying to figure it out, living with my little sister. I done been there. And giving thanks because I did not have nobody to call on. Not I didn't feel comfortable. Not I didn't want to. No, I didn't have it. I didn't have somebody to call on. And that's not me saying to punish somebody else. I'm just saying God put me in a position where the only thing I could depend on is the reality of God. And so my muscle was exercised quite a bit. And alhamdulillah, I give thanks. Hallelujah. Because it's no sweat on my brow when invoices are a certain number. When I get certain numbers that comes with what God is calling in my life, because now I understand that all of it is a part of God's purpose and plan. So if it's the plan for me to do this or do that or get this or get that, then the resources, the way is embedded in there. I just always have to stay a vibrational match to the flow of God. And the flow of God is peace, is harmony, is surrender. That's the flow of God. So long as I stay there. And even if I have to invoke the element of fire or, work hard for something or fight for something, I'm still going to be in the flow of peace, harmony, clarity. Even as I stand in a righteous fight, I'm still at peace. That strength was forged through those times where I didn't have nobody to call on. I had to really trust that this scripting that I'm doing is working, that this praying that I'm doing is working, that this surrendering that I'm doing is working, that these affirmations that I'm doing is working. That's the work. So I got to delete myself out of that because I feel like God calling you to do your work. So that you say, I don't want to be the one to calling, and I don't even feel right calling, and I be trying my best and not ask, and blah, 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 blah. You won't have to if you do the work that God is calling you to do and stop calling me. That's integrity. That's not harshness. That's integrity. That's not narcissism, selfishness. That's none of that. That is truth. That is you standing in integrity, because I was prayerful the whole time I was listening. Because the ego in me want to be like, Negro, you won't never call me for that. I know what you calling for. You think I'm stupid. Blah, 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 blah. What that gonna do? Because it was written that he was supposed to call me. So what that gonna do? If I get in my ego and why you always calling me? And don't nobody ever be helping me out. And I don't have to get nobody to call when I need some help. And everybody call me. Shut your hush. I just was quiet and I listened and prayed. Man, I was always watch and pray. I just listened. God give me the words. After they finished, I took a deep breath. Well, yeah. I was doing that to Erica. I was like Queen said, not answer these calls. I'm telling you. And sometimes, and in the moment when I saw the call coming back to back and I knew what it was, and my ego, popped up and was like, I know they calling for me. Always calling me, blah, 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 blah. So guess what? I didn't answer the phone call and I didn't call back, but I knew I was going to call back. I knew I would call back because that energy was active, because they did something to project that they were disappointed or upset that I wasn't answering, which didn't bother me. They were in their self. So, that's a part of it. But so I knew I was going to call back and I was going to dead that energy in a way that's in alignment with spirit and in truth. Because I didn't want that energy either, because people's energy projected on you can be curses. Right. So it is important to just to you, Erica, if it's that type, this is just that type. This is the type of personality I'm dealing with when I'm talking. There's a certain energy. That person is very lazy with their thoughts and their tongue. When I say lazy, I should say they're very negative, negating with their thoughts and their tongue. And I don't want you to think of me, not at all, with none of that. I'm dead in that as soon as I can, so part of me calling is dead in that energy, and also putting some God energy, some light energy, which had to be a little harsh for the person to hear. They received it though. They didn't argue with me on anything. And then I closed the conversation out in prayer, a powerful prayer, essentially saying, ride it out. Write it out. No, write it out. God can't never show you that exceedingly abundantly above all you can think and imagine if you're stuck in what only you can think and imagine. If you only stand where you control things, you're solving all the problems, you can never experience the God nature of God. And so I think this is an opportunity for you to do that. All right. So for just a reminder that stand in your integrity, all of that to say, stand in your integrity, stand in your truth is so essential in all things, with your children, with your spouses, with yourself, with your jobs, with all of your relations. Whatever God is, whatever the nudge is, stay in it now. Listen now, stay in it. Because God be pulling your coattail like, you aren't supposed to be doing this. Bow out right now. You don't supposed to be saying yes to that. Turn that yes into a no as soon as possible. You don't supposed to be, God be talking to us. But we be wailing and wailing and integrity. You can't let God work through you fully if you're not walking in integrity. And that's in everything, including what you have the opportunity to say yes and no to. Including what you find your hands doing, including what you find where you find yourself putting your energy, where you find yourself putting your time, where you find yourself putting your money, including all of that. Do it in integrity. What is integrity? In spirit and in truth. And you can't do it in integrity if you're not in spirit. Well, we know with the assignment to detox, release, and renew, the renewal is reminding ourselves that we are new birth. We are birthed anew. This is a new birth, meaning we have realized that I am a spiritual being. That's my realization. So I have to function that way in every area of my life, in all things. So there's some things I got to let go of because I'm not operating or functioning from a place of spirit, or in spirit and in truth as a spiritual being. I'm still operating in my carnal mind. I'm still operating in my intellectual mind, my reasonable mind. I'm still operating in my back in the day, what I've used to doing, what's traditional to do, and all that kind of mind. Have integrity for yourself. If that means you have to detox, release, and renew, do so. Do so. All right. That's all. That's it. That's all. I'm gonna go ahead and go. Peace and love, y'all. I will post this as soon as it's available. I have to wait till it upload to the system, and then I can download it on YouTube, and then I'll share it with you. The meditation is on Sunday evening at 7. Remember that. Or at 6. It's at 6. Sunday evening at 6 o'clock. So keep that in mind. And then the sound bath, if you're in Atlanta, is at 7 on Saturday. Okay. Meditation on Sunday at 6 o'clock. You're welcome. You're welcome. Peace and love, y'all. Give thanks.